everyone, my name is Kelsey Grace and this is my Module 1 Introduction presentation. So just a little bit about me. As I said, my name is Kelsey. I am a first grade teacher at Gettysburg and this is my 6th year teaching first grade. I'm a dog mom of Flynn and Murphy, who are pictured right there. And where I'm at in the grad program of ACTE, I am in my final course and I am in the STEM concentration of the ACTE program. So for the first question, the stage that I feel I'm going to have the most difficulty with is probably the first one, and it could just be the day where we're all at with the school year, but I feel like identifying an area of focus and the planning stage is going to be a little bit difficult for me. So in first grade, obviously, I'm teaching all subjects. I'm responsible for all skills for the students, so I feel that it could be difficult to commit to just one area whenever my entire day is devoted to that, so just making sure that I have enough time in the day to collect the data that I need to and create an action plan that's going to be feasible for my day. Also, my district is kind of in the middle of transitioning certain curriculums and kind of philosophies that they're feeling, so leadership and direction is a little bit vague. So for example, the reading program that we have, we're kind of transitioning that, and it's not really taught to the fidelity that the program was designed for. Also transitioning kind of in the middle of like an integrated STEM curriculum, but only some students are using it, which are my students. New units are developed all the time, just not all trialed yet, so it's a little bit difficult to kind of hone in on just one, and also just creating that one specific research question that I can be able to test. I can find that difficult many times. For the second question on making action research part of our daily teaching practices and obstacles that I could see, some potential ones that I can see would be just identifying an area of focus. So again, just going back to me in my elementary world, those teachers are responsible for every skill, every subject, even things just like student behavior, communicating with parents. So just to think of a day in the life of an elementary teacher, there's so much that is also important to you, whether it's math or reading or their phonics skills or their social emotional skills. So anything like that, it's also important. So just finding that one thing every single day, you know, that you're going to like focus on. And would you do one all year? Would you move to different ones throughout the month? So just as far as like a daily practice, beyond just your practical reflection of your teaching and your instruction and how effective it is, that was just one potential obstacle that I saw. And then this kind of goes along with it, but just the transition to a more formal data collection, a more formal data interpretation, and definitely the more formal action plan. These things compared to what I would just typically call the informal reflection that you have. We all do that reflection on how effective something was or how well that lesson went, but the time to complete a more comprehensive reflection could be a little bit difficult. Even the ability to change the instruction. Say you did something and you found that it didn't work, or you know that you teach a program and it's not as effective as you'd like it to be, but maybe you don't have the ability to change that, the specific curriculum that you're teaching or the program that you're teaching. And then this might be just thinking a little bit into it, but just comparing the different types of research projects that there are, just thinking about the data collection that you would get, and the control group fidelity that you might have. The one example they shared in the book was having a different phonics program. Well, as a teacher, you can't teach one set of students a phonics program and then a second set of students a new phonics program. So just kind of keeping everything consistent. Just, again, some things to consider. I might have thought a little bit too into it, but just some things that I was thinking about as I was thinking about these questions. And then lastly, the stories from the field that Ference presented. I kind of connected to both of them just for different reasons, but the first story really resonated with me the most. It could have been her journey into her action research project. I felt like that was very similar to my own journey that I've done with my district and the STEM PLC that I'm on. I felt connected to a lot of the thoughts that she shared, such as her feelings on the educational pendulum while she was in training. I know many of us, I'm sure, feel that way when we're in a certain training. Our district's really extreme one way, and we're sitting in this training where we're learning how to teach one way. and whether it swung differently from last year or you just feel a little bit more passionately about the other side of the pendulum, it's kind of difficult to be in that position. And then lastly, just her situation that she had with the group of Cambodian students who were non-readers, and I'm sure many of us are in this boat this year. It just felt very familiar to me because of all the conversations I've been having with my colleagues lately about the state of my students from last year, and even the students that I have currently in my classroom, and where they have their academic delays, and just really trying to do better for them this year. And then also the concerns that I have conducting an action research project in my class. I do have several. It just sounds a little bit big and scary, but one that I do have includes just collecting the consistent data that can be compared and evaluated to create an action plan. And this might just be because I can't really focus in on one subject, but just making sure that I have data that's easily comparable, and it's going to be really effective to create an action plan. Another concern that I have is just focusing on that area. I know I've talked about that earlier in my presentation, but there's already so many areas that students are struggling in, and even the beginning of the year we know that they're going to grow so much. So it's just kind of a little overwhelming to think about all of that. And in my current situation, I have just a lot of inconsistent assessments, so it's a little difficult just to kind of think about how I would do that final assessment piece to see if they were truly successful, if I was successful and effective. And then, of course, I just hope that at the end of all of this, I do discover a way that I can enhance learning for my current students and for my future students. So thanks so much for listening, and I'm excited to see how you guys felt about all of these questions.